All right, here on the D Shop in the Morning Derek Shapiro podcast. Here we have a good friend. I have to say good friend now these days. But he hasn't been on my podcast in maybe a few months now. But he's still an inmate at the Cranston, Rhode Island ACI Adult Correctional Institute. And welcome my friend Eric. Eric, what security level prison are you in now?
I'm in maximum security.
Still maximum.
Good morning. Good morning. Yes. Yeah. If you recall, last year I went to medium security. I was there for a while, but based on my advocacy work and the things that some of the articles that I wrote about the prison industrial complex and some of the correctional staff here and the abuses of power and how there's a lack of rehabilitative services and they don't get goals and stuff. So pretty much I criticize the Department of Corrections Brotherhood Union, and in retaliation they continue to write me up and sabotage my parole and stuff like that. So I had to get out of there for security purposes to direct the transfer me back to maximum security. It does sound crazy because people will think, oh, maximum security, that's the same top facility over here than it is over at medium security. It runs a lot smoother and I'm not having any issues here. And this is what I was before I went to medium security. So it's not as bad as it sounds.
Sure. So you and tell our viewers again. How many years have you been in the prison so far? Again.
Well, coming up on this year, it will be 12 years in January. I've been incarcerated.
12 years. Wow.
Yeah, 12 years.
12 years. And of course, these days we've been speaking more off the air than on the air in the past few times. But sometimes it's good to speak off there to get the on air content, and see. So what's the latest thing that's been happening since the last time we spoke?
Lately, the facility has the building has went on a hunger strike due to half the buildings on a hunger strike last week due to ongoing abuses of power by the Department of Corrections. And it's just yet again it's the same story. These are some of the same things for years I've been discussing and speaking truth to power, as they're not really. It's like the same old story. It's like the director sets policies and rules into place in order to be followed, but the rank and file decides that they want to, skirt those rules, not listen to the policy, and not go by the policy. And it starts to be frustrated. We have rising prices out in here. For the cost of living in here has went up, so we're feeling the brunt of it. Kifi, which is the vendor that the Department of Corrections uses for commissary purchases, has increased their prices almost tenfold within the last week or two. And it's like a bag of coffee that used to cost $3 now costs $4.50 for 4 ounces.
Wow.
And people on the streets pay $12.99 for 27 ounces of the same Maxwell House coffee. We're paying $4.50 for 4 ounces. So do the math, So that's frustrating, guys. The disciplinary policy that was negotiated between the federal courts and a lawsuit between the federal courts, the ACLU, and the Department of Corrections were put into place in August of 2023, August 1st, 2023, went into place. But based on the Brotherhood Union being upset about this new disciplinary policy, they have been back to their old tricks again, circumventing the policy, enforcing rules that's not sanctioned by the courts, or it's not a regulation by the Department of Corrections director. So last week about half the building, that and amongst a lot of other things, half the building was on a hunger strike. So I had to reach out to Senator Tiara Mack of Rhode Island, and I reached out to the Direct Actions for Rights and Equality, the Behind the Wall Project, and I reached out to them, and told him, look, I need to get a message to the director to let him know what's going on, and have him come send somebody in to speak with me. So on the 15th of last week, on Wednesday of last week, the director sent one of his inspectors in to speak with me, and I laid out the foundation of what's going on, what are the issues, what's the frustrations, and hopefully they're dealing with it. I convinced guys to go back to Eagles and give them a couple weeks to try to address the situation. So, for the most part, the whole building went back to Eaton, and, we're going to give them a few weeks to try to address it,
How long does a hunger strike last for?
Well, it lasted for a few days, and it was kind of gradually get worse and worse, because see what these guys were planning to do was to continue to upscale peaceful protests, by the way, not nothing violent. So they was going to start with, not eating, and the boycott of key fee, and then work stoppage, and then the next step is going to be nobody comes out for recreation. So it was going to be a gradual upscale of peaceful protest.
So so for the hunger strike, people still drink, right?
Well, no. A lot of these guys are not going to drink. They're not going to eat. They're not going to shop, and that definitely becomes a health crisis. And then you have a lot of people that has mental health issues that they're dealing with, and it could get pretty. So I have faith that the director and the assistant director, who is the director, Wayne Salisbury. I knew this guy for about maybe 18, 19 years. He used to be the warden of another facility, so I have a rapport with him. As you recall, remember when I brought Senator Lou DePalma on the show, and he's chairman of finance. We discussed bringing the computer code room program, the last mile program, that was in tandem with the Director Wayne Salisbury, and Senator Lou DePalma. We worked together. I presented the idea to bring the computer coding program, the last mile computer coding program, to the facility to help guys get vocational training program or rehabilitation. Because we have one of the highest recidivism rates in the country.
But see,
at about 50%.
But I just had to fathom, like, without drinking too, because people have to pee every day and do the daily function, especially pee every day. That's the most important thing. How could people not drink for a few days though?
Yeah, it gets tough, but it is kind of hectic. Guys are willing to sacrifice to stand on the cause for what they believe in.
And you did that too?
Stand up against the abuse of power. Oh yeah. Well, I'm not going to go against the prison population. I can't go against the prison population, and I believe that the abuses are real because I'm living it.
How long did you do it for?
Well, this is going to be probably the third or fourth hunger strike that has taken place here, and a few times we went almost a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Wait, you went out with 2 weeks without drinking or eating one time?
About a week and a half, almost. Yeah, about a week.
Wait, your body can function a week and a half without drinking?
Yeah, well, it's pretty tough with the food aspect, but if I had to I wasn't gonna put to the point where I was gonna hurt myself, maybe took a sip of water, but yeah, it gets real, you know what I mean? It really does, it gets real. So maybe a sip of water, but it's not even the water, it's the food that is really the function, because you could take a sip of water and be all right and quench your thirst, but the food aspect it's where it gets real tough.
Because especially now in the prison, especially with I know if you don't eat, especially people's personalities get funky. and do people get short with one another, especially if they don't eat?
because I believe it becomes a thing where people are standing for a cause. So it's like that's minor issue. All those other small things are put aside, it becomes a unified effort to try to get your point across in the most peaceful way, because I don't promote violence.
No, because I know me, and other people. They get moody if they're very hungry.
Oh yeah, you get hangry. That ain't that the saying, you're not yourself when you're hungry. It's like the Snickers commercial, right?
Yes, hangry. Yes.
It's like, yeah, you get hangry. Yeah, but after the third or fourth day, your body goes through a transformation, and it just goes on autopilot. The human body is an amazing thing, you believe it or not. So it's like I've seen guys in segregation where there's no food do 28 days of no eating down there on their by themselves. So
wait, when they're by themselves, they get no food.
Well, in segregation, you can't make commissary, so it's not like the guys are eating commissary in seg. So it's like you have no commissary. You might have guys that are on a hunger strike, but some guys are probably eating maybe a cracker or two here and there. But other than that, even at the very least, you're eating. Even if a guy has food in himself, you only have so much food that you probably eat one ramen noodle a day or something like that.
See,
and that's even kind of tough.
See, question. See, me, I have, especially my throat is not as good as it used to be, right? So, especially because I talk and I've DJ'd and so like the thing with me, I need cough drops. Like I went to the emergency room the other day because I have I had an ear infection, and I had to get my wax out, but see me, I need cough drops, especially if I'm driving long distance too. And sometimes I have a big gag reflex. Okay, so especially if my mouth is dry, I definitely need cough drops. A few years ago, there was a big accident. Not big accident. There was the snow pile up, and people were stuck for a day and a half in Virginia. And I'm just thinking about that. You need a pile. Like I don't have enough cough drops on my car, but I have enough things to suck on. I need to suck on at least something sometimes. And so the thing is, does the prison supply cough drops, especially if you go a hunger strike? Or if without any water, I need cough drops in my mouth because I feel like I'm gonna gag.
They don't. No, nothing's provided here. Everything you have to pay for. So in this instant, where you're gonna have guys not buying anything from the commissary because they also want to boycott the commissary and the expensive prices, it's gonna be a situation where guys are not gonna,
but they have cough drops there, right?
Yeah, they have cough drops. Yes, they have. Okay. They took them for a while, and I think they put them back on. I'm not quite sure. I know we had them for a little while, and then they took them off, and then they put them back on, and then so I'm not even sure because I really don't, unless somebody probably gives me a cough drop here and there. I don't really use it. I just drink. Usually, I drink a lot of water because I exercise a lot, so I work out a lot, and I run, I play basketball, so I'm very active. So in a lot of instances, what I do is I drink about maybe over a gallon of water a day to try to, on a regular. This is not when we're standing, we're all united and standing for a cause.
Yep.
But I consume about a gallon of water a day, so I just try to stay pretty healthy. Or I drink some tea or something if I'm feeling, under the weather. But for the most part, like I said, it becomes a situation where it seems like nothing's changing. It's like they come, they try to address certain things, and then it goes back to normal again.
Yeah.
And they don't really take care of the problems, and it keeps rearing its ugly head. And I'm hoping this time, like I said, we have the assistant director and the director that's, they're open to changing stuff and trying to make sure things ran correctly before it escalates into a situation where, in 2023, about 70 guys stayed in the yard and they took over the yard, and they didn't do it, it wasn't a very smart move, but they were frustrated. And when people feel like their voices are not being heard, look at this weekend, they had a No Kings rally you know, as prisoners, and be able to, you know, have the ability to get the attention of the public and those out there to understand. Like I tell guys all the time, when they start assaulting cops and officers, they have families too. They want to go home to their families every day, and they want to, you know. And I respect that they're doing their job. Some of them are just following orders. You know what I mean? And you got people that are in charge of people that are following orders that are tyrants. So it's like they really, their hands are tied. So I get it. They're just here trying to make a living and feed their families and stuff like that. I can respect that. So my thing is I don't promote any violence. I just tell guys, you know, if you got to do something, put it on paper, right? Do it peacefully, because when you do it peacefully, you get the public sympathy and people can understand why you're doing things. If they hear, oh, these guys are beating up officers, they're assaulting officers, they're doing this, because see, the DOC and the union president, Richard Ferruccio, he has a well-oiled propaganda machine. And part of the retaliation against me from last year is that article I wrote that came out June of 2024, where I said acting directors change is welcome. It was posted in the USA Today, the Boston Globe, NPR, and the Providence Journal. I wrote an op-ed, and it went viral. It was in the Yahoo rooms, all of that. So if people want to read it, just look up Eric Blueville. That's ERICNEUS as in Frank VILLE. And you should go on there and read the article. It should pop up on the Projo. I don't know if it still has a paywall, but I think it's like 73 cents to read the article. But because they have a propaganda machine where they take the narrative and make us seem like we're all animals. So when I countered that, it became a problem. But like I said, as long as it's being done peacefully, we get the sympathy of the senators that represent, the lawmakers.
You have 1 minute left.
People come to our rescue to hear our voices. And, people like you, Derek, we appreciate it. And all your listeners out there, I really appreciate them. And, I want to go on Facebook and follow my nonprofit organization, Prisoner Family Union. PFU, it pushes for criminal justice reform and prison reform. We're just here, trying to make changes to better lives and be better people. When we get out in society, so we be productive human beings and, reintegrate ourselves when we get back up there.
Wow. Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you very much for joining me on my podcast, and we'll do another one too coming up shortly. Okay.
All right. Well, I want to thank you and all your listeners this morning for having me on here, and I really appreciate the time they take to listen and hear me out and speak about the.
Thank you for using Securus.
All right. There's Eric the Inmate here, Derek Shapiro Show podcast, D Shop in the Morning.